Welcome into Jungle Tales, a Pirate Baseball podcast. We appreciate everyone tuning in here on a Tuesday night, just for Pirate Baseball fans, having a little roundtable about a variety of ECU baseball topics. Right now, I'd like to welcome in John, better known as Wool White. Wool, how are you?
I'm doing well, Bubba. Thank you for having me on here. Johnny, hope you're doing well. And Sean, looking forward to talking some jungle tales here. Um, I've been in the jungle as a fan, I've been on the field as a player, but I always love to hear what the other side has to say about the jungle and all the shenanigans or the fun times you guys have out there. So thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome in. You came highly recommended from Johnny Stats. He said, great guy, great Pirate fan. He's gotten to know you over the last few years. And, so let's just start right there. You're in your late 20s. You got a degree from East Carolina, I believe currently pursuing a second degree from ECU with a master's in school administration. So tell us a little about yourself and how you became an ECU fan.
So I grew up in Greenville my entire life. I've lived my entire life in Greenville, all 28 years. And when I started considering where I was going to go to college, I just realized that there was really no other place I'd really want to be other than just, kind of in my hometown in Greenville. So went to ECU, stuck with it. I was always big into the athletics at ECU. I mean, some of my earliest memories are going to football games, going to baseball games at ECU, and it just continued and got more and more intense. I got more and more invested in it, and here we are.
So you certainly remember football games, I guess, from maybe the Skip Holtz years or Ruffin McNeil.
The first football game I think I remember well, was when we played, I believe it was Memphis, when D'Angelo Williams was at Memphis. And I think we beat Memphis, and it was like on a late Friday or Saturday game or something like that. That was back in 2005 or 6.
Yeah. Good recall there. Definitely in those early Skip Holtz years where you would have been, about 7 or 8 years old. And do you happen to remember what was your earliest ECU baseball game?
The earliest baseball game I remember was going to a midweek game against, I believe it was VCU. I want to say it was in third grade. My dad picked me up from my after-school program, and he's like, "Hey, there's a baseball game. We're going to go to that while your mom's had some sort of something going on at the house, and we just wanted to, get out of her hair for a couple hours." Apparently, I'd been to some baseball games before that, back when it was the old Harrington Field before the new stadium got put in. But I don't remember those games at all, and I was only like 2 or 3 years old when that happened.
Yeah, of course, that final season at Harrington Field was 2004, and then in early March, first couple of days of March, maybe perhaps even March 1st of 2005 is when Clark LeClair Stadium opened against the Michigan Wolverines in the expanded, as it was at that time, Keith LeClair Classic. And man, what a field that was. You had the Michigan Wolverines, Ohio State Buckeyes, North Carolina Tar Heels, Arizona State Sun Devils, and Georgia Bulldogs. Because I remember when that field was rumored or announced kind of behind the scenes and not officially yet. And I told one of our family friends what the Keith LeClair Classic field was going to be the first year in the new ballpark. He's like, "Yeah, right. Those teams aren't all coming here." And sure enough, it came to fruition.
I did not know that was what the first LeClair Classic was.
Well, it's the first one in the new ballpark. First one, I think it would have been the third one overall. Yeah, wow. Either the second or third overall, but the first one at Clark LeClair, because the initial one had, I think it was all teams that were connected to Coach LeClair, because you had Jack Leggett in Clemson, and then Rodney Hennon with Georgia Southern, and then I believe it was Western Carolina.
If only we could get that,
at
if only we could get
Harrington
that
Field.
back again.
But yeah, you had Dustin Pedroia for Arizona State, and that was perhaps the coldest I've ever been at an ECU baseball game. The longtime Pirates, and they were old enough to remember that, or remember they had to make an announcement on the PA system, please do not stand in front of the batter's eye, because we were standing in front of the batter's eye to shield ourselves from the wind.
Interesting.
Do you remember the I think it was sometime a year or two after that. I think it was like maybe 2007. We played UCLA for a series in Greenville when I think they had Garrett Cole at the time and maybe Trevor Bauer at the time. It's like 2007 or 2008.
Yep.
Because when you were talking about the coldest you've ever been for a game, that was really cold. I remember I think they called that game because of rain and just it being cold. And then they resumed at like 9 a.m. on a Sunday.
Correct. I was not able to be there. I was coaching at the time at Ledford High School in the greater Winston-Salem area in Thomasville, North Carolina. But yeah, my dad was there, and I remember watching that on All Access. I knew that it was either a doubleheader or, the continuation of a game, like you said. And unfortunately, that kept the crowd down just because of the brutal conditions. And
yeah, and that was March too. And we're playing games in February now. I know they've talked about trying to move games back a little bit, not start so early, but yeah, it was freezing in March at that time when they came.
Oh, it was. That was the coldest I'd ever been for a game.
We had also played a series out there, and then we played a series out at UCLA under Cliff Godwin, and we lost 3 heartbreakers to the Bruins. They were ranked number 1. It seems like it was that 2019 maybe? I think it was Bryant Packard and Jake Agnos junior season, if I'm not mistaken. But because 2017 is when we, of course, opened the year with 3 games down in Oxford against Ole Miss, which my parents were able to attend. But as you can see,
Cole and Bauer went 1-3 in the major league draft. They came in together, although Bauer was redshirted, but they went 1-3 when they were draft eligible. So, yeah, that was a powerful UCLA team. And we saw what happens with UCLA this year. You never know in baseball. That's the best part of it. Yeah. I was a part of a team that barely made it, and we had to play Wichita State, who was the number 1 team in the country, and we battled them hard, and you never know when something's going to turn around. Also, the Citadel made the World Series, another team, 1990. We were probably the odds-on favorite to win that regional, and Citadel came out of it. They went to the World Series. They won a game out there too. So baseball is that's why I love baseball. It's a great sport as far as kind of leveling the playing field on a game-to-game basis. So that's what's fun about it.
I agree, Will. We've had 13 different winners in the College World Series in the last 15 years. And, stories like Oral Roberts a few years ago and Murray State. And now Troy, Troy barely got in the tournament, and then they end up hosting a super regional. You just never know what's going to come your way if you keep playing and, keep winning games. And I agree with you. It's unlike any other sport. You just don't get that in football. You pretty much know there's 3 or 4 teams that might be able to win it all, and nobody else has got a shot. But in baseball, it's not like that. Hey, but going back to the coldest I've been, first of all, in the jungle, I feel like out there in left field, Sean, the first thing that goes is your feet. I've learned that you've got to have you got to come prepared to keep your feet warm. But with St. Mary's, and it was so cold, I left. That's the only time I've left a game because I was too cold, but I just couldn't handle it.
When was that? 2004, 3? Or
no, it was 22.
23, 22?
22, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
It was cold. So that was my, I learned from it though. wear thicker socks and don't wear tennis shoes with like net, mesh body to let the wind just go and freeze your toes. So, yeah.
So my question for Sean is, when did you first start really getting into the East Carolina baseball and games? I know you went there when you said you were younger, but when did it really start hitting that you were going to be a fan for life for this team?
So I want to say I started really going to games, and I want to say it was 2006. I went to a couple games up in the stands, and then me and my dad decided that we were going to go out to the jungle. We didn't know it was called the jungle at that time. We just thought it was like, the outfield, general admission, standing room only, whatever you want to call it. And when I went out there, I happened to see the loud people in left field. That one of them was my elementary school gym teacher, and Brian Dilday, and I was like, oh, hey, he's out here. And so I started going to a few more of those games. But from 2006, 7, and 8, where we were decent, but then the year that really kind of opened me up to being like a Pirate fan for life was basically the 2009 year, the regional that we hosted that year against, I believe it was Binghamton, George Mason, and mainly South Carolina. The way that we came back after getting blown out by South Carolina in the winners bracket game, and then had to beat them twice. Devin Harris, I believe it was, had a 2-out, 3-run home run to tie it up in the 9th. And then he also had the game-winning hit in the 11th inning late on a Monday night, I believe it was. So also I got to sleep in and be a tiny bit late to school Tuesday morning because of that. My mom wasn't very happy about it, but it was pretty fun. That atmosphere was just insane.
Yeah, it really was. I was still at Ledford High School at that time, and I remember, like you're saying, I there was no doubt. I mean, I had to be there when the game or the series and the regional went to Monday. I printed off probably 200 of the 20 and just a number 23 on a plain white sheet of paper, and it had the old Pirate Head logo with the flesh face and beard, and said "Go Pirates," and then just the largest I could make, the number 23. And I still have some pictures, just old pictures that we had, printed off, whatever Walgreens or whatnot, that my grandma, who passed away in 2015, and then my dad and a ton of people down the first baseline were holding up that number 23 sign. I'd almost forgotten that I'd printed those off until I saw that picture here in the last year or two. But some excellent memories, and I'll never forget standing right behind the plate, when Devin Harris hit that home run to tie the game, and then of course the game-winning hit where Kyle Roller scored.
It's interesting that you brought up those 20. What were they, just on like regular printer sheets of paper? Like
it was just normal printer paper. It's
interesting you bring that up, because I remember when we were down late in the game, I was getting nervous and kind of antsy. So I literally, I somehow got a hold of one of those like 23 signs. I don't know if it was on the ground or it was given to me when I walked in or something. And I was getting kind of antsy. So I literally was walking around the entire jungle, just like holding it up as like a 5th grader.
That's awesome. Hard to believe that was 17 years ago, but Pirate Nation, if you're tuned in live tonight, let us hear from you. As you can tell, we're here, there, and everywhere. Topics are all over the place, but talking a variety of ECU baseball memories, all past thus far, but we'll talk about the present, the 2027 roster here in a little while, and also Pirates and the pros, what guys like Dixon Williams or of course, all the guys in the big leagues are doing. But let us hear from you throughout the show, as myself and Wool White and Johnny Stats are joined by Sean Sullivan, a diehard Pirate baseball fan. But what are some of your top memories throughout the years? Excuse me. In addition to that 2009 regional where the Pirates battled back and beat South Carolina.
So after the 2009 year, we didn't host a regional for a good little while, and I was thinking back on this. Basically, from the 2009 regional going forward, the next good memory I have, it was when we finally started getting back to being this perpetual, baseball powerhouse. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think we hosted 4 regionals in a row, 18, 19, 21, 22. Obviously 20 didn't count because of the season got canceled. But even going back before that, probably the best interaction that I ever had, or not even the best interaction, more of just the most interesting interaction, was with Tulane in 2017. This was my freshman year of college, and I was going to the game. We were not that good that year in 2017. That was the only year Cliff Godwin missed the postseason. But Tulane, we were talking about this a little bit pre-show, like left fielders that, they want to have fun. They want to have a good time. We allow them to, enjoy themselves and whatnot in a respectful manner. But Tulane's left fielder, he started out that game, pretty chatty, not too bad. And then at some point, something changed in him. We were winning like 10-4 in the 4th inning or 5th inning. We bunted a guy over because we were terrible with blowing leads that year. And he turns around and says something to us, like, something really profane about Cliff Godwin. And we were just like, hey, buddy, like, shut up, basically. And then he just started getting even more vulgar, specifically targeting me. I asked him if he was going to come back and play left field tomorrow. And he was just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to come out and play left field tomorrow. And I'm going to see. And he pointed at me directly and said, like, I'm going to see you. And he threw in some not so nice language in there as well. I believe his name was Lex Kaplan, Tulane left fielder in 2017. And that was when I realized that, like, oh, yeah, the jungle's really getting, like, intense. Like, I'm not just, like, part of the chanting and the fans. Like, I'm actually, like, I'm here getting into the weeds with, like, another team's outfielder, and, I'm really affecting him. Oh, I see somebody commented, "Sexy Lexi." Yeah, that's what we called him. That's
just me. Yep.
That really got to him. And I remember on Sunday he struck out like 3 times, went 0 for. He slammed his bat, and you could hear him screaming in the dugout. So we really got to him in that series, because I don't know, that was the game when I really realized, like, the impact of what we as fans can have on the game, especially if another player is just going to be, toxic.
Yeah. Sean, you nailed that. He was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. So, I mean, that's
0 for 4. I thought it was 0 for 5. Oh, well.
Close. I thought you said 0 for 4. Anyhow, yeah, good memory there.
I do remember the 3 strikeouts.
Yeah.
So I know this is a tough subject, but Texas Super Regional, what was your take on that? First game obviously went great. Second game, looked like we're getting ready to go to Omaha, and then the gut punch comes. So how did the jungle react to that?
The whole time I was because Texas was just loaded. Their pitching staff, not quite as much, but their hitting core, like, all their guys were batting over 300, had double-digit home runs. You had Ivan Melendez, who had like 30 home runs that year. He had like a crazy nickname. I think it was like
Hispanic Titanic.
Yeah, that's a crazy name. But he hit, probably in all my years of going to games, the hardest hit ball I've ever seen. He hit one over the trees, like just to the right of the batter's eye, and it landed in the parking lot, like behind the batter's eye. So 470, 480 feet, no kidding. And I believe that was in game one when we, won that game. I was just waiting for us to just, because we were such a scrappy team that year. We only had like one starting pitcher, and just everybody contributed in ways that you really would never have guessed going into that year. Game one, we won. Game two, I was like, oh, wow, we're up. Are we really about to do this? And then it just kind of fell apart. Texas kept chipping their way back in. And then we just couldn't seal the deal in that game. And then obviously game three with the rain delay, and we were just out of gas. But one thing that was so cool about that game in general is even after like 10 hours of rain delay, there was still 4,000 people hanging out at that game when we were down like 10-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started off that year. I think we lost to Bryant the first, 3 games there.
Yeah.
Went on the roll with the, what was it, Bubba, 22 game win streak? 20, yeah.
Because if we would have beat Coastal and then swept through the super regionals, we would have got to Omaha with a 23 game winning streak. I remember that.
Yeah.
Which would have been really awesome, of course.
Yeah, and the Bryant game, but that's the one where they took the home run away.
Justin Wilcoxon hit a walk-off pinch hit home run, but the umpire called time before.
That was a dagger, big time dagger. And then Ryder Giles had an error in one of the other games. The games were close. That I think in a couple that just sealed the deal for us. But that was painful to lose 3. But hey, I want to talk.
I know. I was going to tell you, Johnny, Bryson Worrell. I know that was your favorite player during the end of the year that year.
Yes, sir. And that's what I wanted to talk about with Sean. Is to me the Texas Super Regional is a memory. That is I'll never forget. But the regional was even better because we prevailed. But you remember when Coastal won 9-1? And they hung their banner on our fence and talked trash to us. And they were getting into it with Bryson's dad, Greg. And it was not a good scene, but, we won the next game on Monday.
Beat the crap out of them too.
And they kind of they snuck out one by one so that, but you know what? We didn't stoop to their level. We just didn't. We let the players do the talking. But I do remember something else about that is Bryson's grandma, Betty. She would come to the games and, there was nowhere to sit. And it was tough to get anywhere in the jungle, but they had the bench there, right behind the left field megaphone crew. And I made up a sign that said, "This is reserved for Bryson Worrell's grandma, Betty. Please respect." And everybody respected. She would come. She would have her bench. She would watch and cheer. And that regional was just such a great time. That's one of my favorite memories. I haven't been around as long as you, though, Sean. So my memories don't,
I think
that definitely was a fun back and forth regional. There was some trash talking. There was some good baseball that was played. But I don't know. This has always been something that's always kind of been with me. Of all the teams that ECU is sort of rivals with, or maybe not full rivals, but have some sort of a disdain for, in my mind, I think Coastal's number one.
I'm with you.
In my mind, Coastal, I think, might be number one.
The boys know how I feel about that.
Yeah. And when I saw them, messing around in the bullpen, looking like a bunch of hyenas in that regional, that really pissed me off.
He was trying to dig that ball out of left field, and the bullpen's right there. And you're right. That's right. Well, you said a pack of wild hyenas, and that was a great description. And
hands and knees.
Yeah.
Coastal's left fielder. I don't know if you remember, but he had bleach blonde hair. His name was Nick Lucky. He wore fake chains and pearls on his neck. And he hit a home run in a game and in that the final game against us. And he he like took forever to walk out of the batter's box and like flipped off the crowd.
And he was doing the elbows up. Yeah, that was crazy too.
It's like you're down 10. You cut the
Yeah.
lead
What are you
from
doing
10
here?
to nothing to 10-2. Like
Yeah.
go in the dugout and tell the boys to get some more hits.
Yeah, he was running down the base with his right elbow up. Come on, dude. Yeah.
Hey,
But
Sean,
I was gonna go back real quick because I
Okay.
always mention this to Johnny and Bubba. Trey was a young guy during that Texas regional, the super regional in Greenville. He came in. I'm sure he was not trusted as much, but I promise, I think if he had stayed in that game, we'd have won. We'd have been in Omaha. And when I say stay in the game, maybe one more inning, because he only came in for like 1 or 2 outs.
Yeah.
But
Because
a lot of people don't remember that part, that Trey actually
they put
pitched in
Benny
that game.
P in.
Yeah,
was it Danny Beal that started that game?
he probably pitched in every game. It seemed like
Danny started game 3.
Was it game 3? Did he
Yeah,
pitch in game
yeah.
2?
I don't recall without going back and checking.
Yeah,
Because I remember Trey. I remember Trey came in. I think
John-
he gave up a home run, but then he kind of got us out of a jam, and I think he left it like 4-1, and then the rain delay just doused us.
Yeah, it sure did. Game 2, Josh Gross started. Danny Beal came in, pitched a couple, threw 2/3 of an inning. Then Garrett Saylor came in. Then Trey. Then Benny. Then Carter. Wait a minute, that can't be. Yeah, that's game 2, right?
Yeah, because CJ Mayhew started the first game, went 4 or 5 innings, and then a few people closed it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
speaking of, go ahead, Bubba.
Just very quickly, I just remember when it was 7-2 in the 7th in game 2, and an App State friend of mine texted me and said, "It looks like y'all got it." I said no. I said absolutely not. I said take it back. I said these last 7 or 8 outs, we got almost a third of a game to play.
For some reason, I was down in Southern Pines and playing in a golf tournament, and I got into a playoff, and we were listening to the game, me and the guys in the cart, and then when I got into the playoff, me and the guy that were in the playoff went to another cart, and I no longer could listen to the game. I had left when it was like 7-2. Come back, and things were getting interesting, and the next thing you know, and Bubba even told me this. He was like, he was a little bit nervous about what was going to happen there late in the game. And sure enough, that happened. That was probably the biggest gut punch I've seen. I know the one at Texas, what was it, Texas Christian or Texas Tech?
Texas Tech in 2016.
Yeah, that was a tough one as well. We had 2 chances there at the end.
That's how
close we were to Omaha.
We had a guy on second in the bottom of the 12th or 13th. Hit a ball up the middle, and it bounced off the mound, and it ricocheted right to the guy when it should have gone up the middle and won us the game.
Yeah, Sean.
Didn't it hit the rubber on?
Yeah, that's what it was. It hit the pitcher's mound.
Oh man, yeah.
So for about the last 10 or 11 years, my summer job, I've been the PA announcer for the Lake Norman Copperheads, and for about the last probably 8 or 9 years, I've done the live stats. In addition to the PA announcing, and we were between games in a doubleheader. And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! The Pirates on the verge of going to Omaha, and I can't fully lock in and watch this game." And fortunately, the conclusion of that game fell. Fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to look at it, fell in between the games of the doubleheader. And I remember when that ball came off Brady Lloyd's bat, I just had chills. I said, "Holy cow." I said, "This is it. We're going to Omaha." And then, like you said, it hit the backside of the mound, kicked to second base, and that was that.
Yep. But in some ways, because if we won that game, Cliff Godwin was definitely leaving to go to like Alabama or Florida State or LSU or one of the teams that was trying to
Alabama.
It was Alabama. Cliff was 100% leaving if we went to Omaha after that. So in some ways, I guess there's a silver lining to that storm cloud that we didn't get it there, because Cliff got to stay, build up the program, and just expand things a lot.
That's a great perspective, Sean.
We don't host 4 straight. We don't host 5 out of 6 years of regionals if Cliff leaves there. Let's put it that way.
And as much as I hate to circle back to the 2022 season opening series against Bryant, kind of a funny story. It certainly wasn't funny at the time, but looking back on it, when that home run by J-Dub was called foul, I just remember Blue, and I'll leave his name out of it, a well-known member of the Greenville community, and also was part of the scores table and officials at the basketball games at Minji's. But
you know what, Bubba? I don't think he called it foul. I think he said
called time.
Yeah, I said foul. I didn't mean to say foul.
Okay.
Thank you for correcting me. But yes, before he called time, because he certainly didn't call it foul. That's what people thought. Right.
They did. They were like, what's going on?
And then it was like, no, it's clear that he called time. And yes, when he called time, he said the reason he called time was because he couldn't see because of the sun. And Cliff Godwin said, what, did you think it was going to move in the next 30 seconds?
Boy.
So yeah,
I don't even know what you say. What do you even say as a coach to that?
That was just the way the beginning of that season went. But man, what a story it was there from the start of conference play on, because I remember up there at Cincinnati, that was the beginning of the run.
Yeah, because I remember we were coming off of dropping a road series to Tulane and getting kind of blown out by NC State at home in a midweek game, and then we just caught fire.
Yeah, it became fairly well documented that they had a come to Jesus meeting, for lack of a better way of putting it, to get everyone on the same page, either in Cincinnati or right before they went to Cincinnati. I think it was in Cincinnati, and then we won game 3 of that series, if I'm not mistaken, in extra innings, and just had it rolling from that point on.
Didn't Ben Terwilliger score the winning run in that game? Like Ben Terwilliger, the pitcher, had to take an at bat because we did some moving things around, and he hit a ball off the wall and ended up scoring on a hit later.
Correct. He doubled off the wall in right center field, and the dugout just lost its mind.
And also, was Matt Bridges still on the team? Was that the year that Matt Bridges went 1-for-1 with a big RBI that year as well? Or was that a different year?
Bridges was a senior in 21 when we lost.
Okay, so that was 21 then. Okay.
Yeah, he and Cam Colmore were seniors that year, because you mentioned Matt Bridges. He got the punch out against Maryland to win the regional.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then the Vandy regional, what'd you think about that? I mean, we had Gavin and Carson, but we were going up against Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker. I mean, come on.
And
what a regional.
Played umpire.
Oh, the hump. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even want to go there.
And throw in a whistler just for extra aggravation.
I remember watching highlights of that game afterwards just to see. And Gavin Williams had 11 strikeouts in 6 or 7 innings. With a tiny strike zone, he still had 11 strikeouts.
Dominant. He was dominant.
I mean, that was the game that solidified Gavin Williams as a first-round pick.
Yeah, and Carson was good too. But then you got Jack and Kumar. They're all in the major leagues right now. Well, Carson went up and pitched one game. He's been up and down a little bit, but I mean, you got 4 major league pitchers in that super regional. You got an umpire who's, I don't know what was going on there. I've got pictures. I've shown Bubba and Johnny that I don't know what he was calling, but anyway, it's tough to give Kumar Rocker 6 to 9 inches off the plate when he has that that big of an arsenal that he did have. He's one of the only pitchers to have a no hitter in the World Series or in the College World Series.
Yeah, like Wool is saying. I mean, those guys are that good, and they're literally getting a plate and a half.
Yeah, that's impossible as a hitter to figure that out. Yeah, not good.
And that's probably being generous. If you go back and look at a few of those screenshots, because I know you have them saved, Wool, and we're sick enough that every now and then we'll rehash those memories from 5 years ago.
And
Yeah,
Josh,
I have those pictures, and I have the box score from the second game against Texas. So I don't know why I keep them, but I go back and look at them, and it reminds me of how close we've been.
and Josh
Pretty
Moylan
amazing
still
that
took
Kip
Kumar
can get
Rocker.
tossed in that situation. I'm sorry, Sean.
And I was going to say something about Kumar Rocker. And I think Josh Moylan was the one that hit a home run off of him too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did. You're right. And, really the end of the lineup for Vanderbilt's what kind of did us in. It was not – they didn't – they weren't getting a lot of hits, but they had a couple guys at the end of the lineup that kind of got on base, and next thing you know, we're down a run or two. But it was a great series with great players. I mean, Connor Norby was on that team. He's in the major leagues. Yeah, a lot of players. And I think that was the year that Vandy went to the World. Well, they did go to the World Series, but NC State was on a roll. And then the COVID thing hit NC State that year.
NC State beat Vanderbilt with only 13 players eligible to play. Their Friday night pitcher played first base. And then the next day, after NC State somehow miraculously beat Vanderbilt, the NCAA said, no, you weren't supposed to do that. You guys have to forfeit.
Yeah, crazy.
That was terrible.
And didn't Vanderbilt win it all that year as well, 21?
I think they lost to Texas Tech that year. They came in second.
No, Texas Tech's never won it. Vanderbilt's won it twice. I think that was –
I have to look it up. I think they lost to one.
That's the year Mississippi State won it.
Was it Mississippi? Okay, there you go. Sorry.
Vanderbilt did win it. When I said 13 different winners in the last 15 years, that's because Vandy's won it twice and LSU's won it twice. But it wasn't in 2021, I guess, for Vandy.
I think it was 2019 that Vandy won it.
That sounds right. But you
Yeah,
said
because
that,
they beat Louisville, who we lost to in the Supers that year.
Yeah. You said Moylan had the home run off of Kumar, and that was only one of two hits. And I think
Connor Norby had the other one.
Yep, leadoff. Yep, that's it.
I think the year before that, Kumar had 18 strikeouts and a no-hitter against Duke in a regional. I mean, he had filthy stuff, and his father played football at Auburn in the Bo Jackson era. So,
yeah, Tracy Rocker.
Tracy Rocker, that's right.
Tracy Rocker was quite the player.
But no, I went to that Nashville series up there. It was quite the atmosphere with Vanderbilt. One thing that both annoyed me but also impressed me is the magnitude of the Whistler. There's like 12 of them. There's not one of them. There's a bunch of them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not just one guy. Like there's multiple. I'm pretty sure it's at least a dozen different Whistlers, and they're at least in 4 or 5 different places throughout the stadium. Like it's it's annoying, but it's kind of impressive.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm with Johnny. I never knew that. Yeah. I thought it was just one guy that was very loud.
Yeah, I did too. I did too. Because there is one guy that is the face.
There's one older guy who's like the face of, who's like the main whistler, but they've got a bunch of different guys that kind of like whether they like trade places or whatever. Right. And for big games, they show up in force, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you have to admire it, but yeah, that is. I mean, people complain about the cowbells at Mississippi State. I'll take cowbells over the Whistler any day.
And I'm sure other teams complain about megaphones when they play ECU.
That's true.
Other teams' coaches have complained about us before and tried to get us kicked out of games before and get the umpires to go out there and stuff like that.
It seems like I remember.
I think David Pierce was one that made a little bit of a vocal, prior to the Texas Super Regional, right? He said
What
a
did he
couple
say?
things.
Like they call it the jungle and they act like animals or something like
Yeah,
that.
he did say something.
Yeah.
Or they call it the jungle and they act like it or something like that.
Do y'all remember?
They're hanging over the fence and they'll throw beer on you, that type of stuff.
But
That
and
happened
he
like
mentioned
25
younger
years
kids.
ago.
He also mentioned younger kids because there were in the right field jungle, there were some like grade school, middle school kids who had empty Michelob Ultra beer bottle they're aluminum beer bottles, and they were banging them on the fence just to make noise. They certainly weren't drinking, and there certainly was no beer in those aluminum bottles, but they were using them just to generate some noise. And and Texas fans said, oh, in Greenville they're drinking at 14. No, they're not.
You know what you call those middle schoolers in right field right there?
No.
You call those true Pirate fans.
Amen, Sean.
They were just in lieu of cowbells, right?
They're using what they got to make the most noise possible.
That's right.
And those Texas fans, Texas is like the Chapel Hill, or Texas University is like the Chapel Hill of the U.S. basically, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Bubba, aren't you the one that told me that some of the Texas fans were like amazed that we had players that were in Major League Baseball? They were like, "What?"
Yeah, I mean that was a story that Blake Hardigree, I believe, he told it on the podcast. He certainly.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
He said that you have your practice day, so this must have been on Thursday before the Super Regional started on Friday at noon, and Texas was there for their practice. And he was showing them the indoor and where they could do what and so forth, and that one of the Texas players or staff, they were looking at some of the things we had on the wall in the pitching indoor about some of the players that had played there and for the Pirates and gone on to MLB careers and stuff. He said, "Wow," he said he just acted like a complete arrogant jerk, and it just blew his mind. He said, "Yeah," he said, it's basically kind of like the moment in Major League where, we got uniforms and everything. It's really nice."
Yeah. That's a great analogy, Bubba and Sean, about the Carolina fans and the Texas fans. They are the Carolina fans of the SEC.
And by the way, has Texas ever put a player in the pros that threw a no-hitter in the pros?
Well, they had Roger Clemens.
Oh, they did? Okay.
He had a couple 20 strikeout games. I don't think he threw a no-hitter.
Yeah, well, we had Chris Heston. He threw a no-hitter in the pros.
That's right.
And then you had Gavin last year that was 8 1/3
Close.
hit this ball up
Right
against the Mets, and
that was very close.
But where I thought you were going with that, JR, I thought you were going to bring up what became pretty well known, for the fans in the grandstands, especially there near the beginning of that game. I guess it was before game one even started. They played the Eyes of Texas, and our fans were doing the purple gold cheer, and the Texas fans were talking about how ridiculous we were that we were doing the purple gold cheer during the Eyes of Texas.
They were in Greenville, North Carolina. Did they forget that?
They get upset. They get upset when you do this.
Oh boy, do they ever!
I mean, I think that might be what kind of spurred their comeback in game two when AMAC hit the horns down when he was rounding third. I think that might have spurred their comeback a little bit.
Now, whatever some of their cheers are at Dish Falk Field there in Austin, good and well, I'm sure if we were playing in a regional there and you had EC Victory playing on the PA system because a Pirate player had done this or that, or the starting lineups, I'm sure they're going to be quiet, right?
Yeah.
But Sean, I know you had kind of compiled some notes going into tonight's show. We've certainly crossed some of those off, but what are some of those topics that you have written down that you wanted to touch on?
The main thing that I just kind of wanted to, I mean, I can't remember if we talked about this since the show began or if we just talked about it in the pregame, but it's kind of about like, keeping up the big jungle fandom at ECU, like adding more new blood to the mix, whether that be, in right field and left field, in center field, just adding to the jungle in general. But the other thing as well is just like what baseball kind of means to ECU. ECU baseball has been one of those things that for the past 25, 30 years has been the sport that every year everybody expects, big things out of. Like football, I love football, but some years, we beat NC State or Pitt in a bowl game, and then other years we go 2-10 and are one of the most frustrating teams to watch in all of college football. But baseball is just one of those things that just always we expect to be good, and usually we're given it. But it's just kind of what baseball means to Greenville and what ECU in general means to Greenville. Because, Greenville would not be the size and has grown the way that it is if it wasn't for ECU. And so much of ECU's fandom wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for where baseball is right now, especially in the past 10 years under Cliff Godwin's tenure.
Yeah, and that's well said. And, I was a more Western North Carolina guy, and I really didn't know anything about East Carolina baseball. Nothing. Finally got recruited by them, came to Greenville, started seeing things, started reading about Winfred Johnson, meeting those guys that were before me and the history. And I was like, I had no clue that Greenville had such a history of baseball, and it's continued year after year. It's been one of those constants, like you mentioned, that keep and you can see it with the young players in Greenville, the youth leagues, etc. The baseball, that's what drives so much baseball in those areas in Pitt County and beyond, is Greenville, East Carolina baseball.
I agree. It brought me to Greenville, like as a homeowner. I never thought I was going to actually live in Greenville, but, because of baseball, I was like, I want to be a part of this more often. And I need, I just need to be here. And that you're a big part of that, Sean, because, my experience in the jungle with you and the Megaphone crew, it was just so unique to me and so full of energy and positive energy too. People, I think there's a misconception that we're, I'm not part of the crew, but your crew can be vulgar or insult the players. It doesn't work that way. You're very respectful, very clever, and just, it's a great thing to watch. And, that Pirate baseball brought me to Greenville. So I'm thankful for it. I appreciate it. And I'm blessed to be able to witness it.
No, that's appreciated. It's really just a hobby. I love ECU baseball, but like the whole Megaphone thing, it's a hobby. It makes the game more fun. And some of the other teams' players will tell you, we were talking before the show began about some of the teams that have come here and they love playing in Greenville. And a part of it is, the main thing is the jungle. It's such a unique concept. Like very few other teams have this. Like all the big stadiums in the SEC and the ACC, they're just, enclosed bowls around the baseball diamond. Having the jungle is truly the most unique thing about ECU and ECU baseball in general.
I agree. Hey, Sean, are you ready for a return to the jungle parking lot? The year off was, it could have been worse. We made it work. And I loved having the opponent's bullpen right there out in left field. But I mean, are you ready for a return to normalcy?
Oh yeah, I definitely want the parking lot to be back open so you can just walk in, walk out, walk in, walk out, and just get a drink of water, have a brat, have a beer, whatever, and then just go back into the game in between innings. You get to see more of the baseball, and it's enjoyable. It's one of the things that adds to the jungle a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to
And
bring
then,
this up too, since you're talking about that in and out, is the fact that the parents of the players, they gravitate towards the purple tent right there at the gate, whether Josh is on the grill or whatever's going on. I remember when Jack first visited the jungle when he was playing for the Yard Gnomes. I think that influenced him to be a member of our team. It's just it's such a great atmosphere out there with the parents, and it's just something that is extremely unique.
well, not only has it become a great atmosphere, but it's even brought a lot of the parents and the fans a lot closer and almost forming some sort of a community. I mean, before all the games, the parents of all the players that make it out to the game literally gather around in a big circle, and any fans that want to join in, and they literally have like a little pregame prayer, and it's just like that is so awesome. It's a great community that ECU's baseball program has brought in recently. Because I don't remember this from 10 years ago. If it was like, done like in the locker room or, at like a parents only tailgate or something like that. But now it's really bringing a lot of people together because of ECU baseball.
I agree.
Sean, we have a comment for you from Ryan Sproul. He says, that man deserves his water. All that time on the megaphone has got to leave him parched.
And the hot sauce that he makes sometimes.
Oh, it's the best. I'm telling you, Sean. I can't get enough of it.
Some pretty good hot sauce.
He makes outstanding hot sauce. Actually, the best I've had.
Especially, I can't remember where it is, but he even made like one that was like the jungle hot sauce, and had like a picture of like us doing a jungle jump on it.
Yeah, he's very talented.
Oh yeah, good grill master.
Excellent marketing on the bottle there. It sounds like.
Oh yeah.
Was not aware of that, but I was aware when he had where he had packaged some other pirate beverages down through the years. But guys, do we want to any more memories? Do we want to or jungle tales, if you will, that we want to hit on, or do we want to kind of transition more to the present?
I do want to show off two baseballs that kind of got over the years, just briefly. This ball right here was one, there it is, that I got following a former ECU player to a single A team that he played up near where I had some family for a little while. It was John Wooten, and literally went all the way out of our way to go watch him play a random minor league game in the great state of Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont. And he wrote on the baseball, it might be backwards. It says, "To all jungle studs, love y'all." This was like 2 years after he left, and he still remembered us. And then this one comes from a while ago. It says, "The Jungle, best college hecklers." That was from Delaware State. We played them several years ago, like a long time ago, back in the Billy Godwin era. And one of their outfielders was batting like 0-42. So he was like 1 for 50 at the plate. If my math's a little off. And we literally told him, like, "Hey buddy, if you get a hit, we will literally buy you a hot dog." And what does he do in his next at bat? He gets a hit and we bring him a hot dog. And what did the rest of the team and their coach do when we brought him a hot dog? They were like, "Hey, where's ours?"
That is awesome.
I just wanted to share that story briefly.
No, I love that. That is great.
I'm trying to remember some other stories down through the years from the standpoint of guys being fed.
The
There's
sausage.
certainly been,
Maryland.
yeah, there's been no shortage. You mentioned the fun that the Norfolk State team, excuse me, had in that 2022 regional or 2021, whichever. But then I remember guys running in, from the game wasn't even over, but I remember guys running in, with sticking food in their back pockets or running in with a plate of food. And they're like, come back out before you guys leave. We'll give you a care package for the bus.
Yeah, we gave a couple care packages over the years to Quinnipiac, Memphis. We even gave Memphis one year a copy of I think it was the Bad News Bears or something like that, so they could watch on the bus ride back because they didn't understand some of the lines we were throwing at them. Some years ago, I think it was 2018, we gave Maryland's left fielder a hot dog because he was just being really cool, and they moved him to right field the next game. And that actually cost them a run or two because the new left fielder had a kind of not the strongest arm. And I believe it was a close game too. I think moving the guy to right field actually might have lost them that game.
Or is often heard in the jungle, the rag arm chants.
Yep. Rag arm, noodle arm.
Yeah. Hey, Sean, how is it determined? I mean, for other people out there that may not know, how do y'all determine who you call for the jungle jump?
So anybody that hits a home run has multiple RBIs, has like a walk-off hit, pitches really well, gets the save, something like that is usually what we do. Multiple hits. Usually not just 2 for 4, but 2 for 4 with a run scored and 2 RBIs, all home runs. You can go 1 for 5 with 4 strikeouts and hit a home run and you're getting called out. Stuff like that.
Yeah. And is it frowned upon? I believe Brian brought the broom out a little early, and it kind of backfired, so I don't think he'll be doing that again. But as far as the sweep pole is concerned, how long has that been going on?
So the sweep pole goes back to the 90s. Actually, it might even go back further. To my knowledge, it started in the 90s. And it was actually when they would wrap the brooms around like one of the big oak trees before the new stadium got put in, back when it truly was the jungle back in the day. In some years, the light pole or the old oak tree of of 25 years ago, it would get pretty full. Like there were some years we had like 9 and 10 brooms around the pole. I think that's happened. I think the most we've ever had is 9 or 10. And I want to say it was in 2001 or 2004, according to Brian Dilday.
He would know.
Yeah, back at Harrington Field, it was the sweep tree, but then of course in 2005, the new trees there instead of the old pines, the pines had to be cut down, and the new trees were so little they obviously could not support. So you had a sweep pole as opposed to the sweep tree. But
yeah. Hey, what kind of trees are those? Because whatever they are, the leaves are extremely slick when they fall, and then people are especially younger kids are running through the jungle. That's those leaves are very slick. What kind of trees are those? Does anybody know?
Oak. They're either live oaks. I think they're either live oaks or water oaks.
Okay.
My wife would know. She knows a lot about trees. She's a licensed forester.
Okay. Oh wow, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just recently married, were you not?
A year and 4 months ago.
It doesn't seem that long.
To let you know a little bit about how much baseball means to me and the people that we were gonna, we invited to the wedding. We had the wedding 2 weeks before baseball season, so that way baseball season didn't interfere with it. Or that was a part of it. That was a part of it. Not the main reason, but a part of it. Because we wanted most of the people to come out, and a lot of people I would have invited would not have been out there, or I'm not positive they would have been out there if there was a baseball game.
Yeah, well, that was a good idea, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it'd been that long. I thought it was like within the last year for some reason.
2 Februaries ago.
Okay.
Hey, so guys, I think now would be a good time to transition to, before we talk a little about the 2027 roster and who's left, who's staying, and all those things, portal pickups. Let's talk about the numerous changes we've had on the coaching staff. They've been well documented, but we haven't had a show, since those changes happened. Obviously, Austin Knight moving on to Tennessee, and then Jake Gautreaux to Coastal Carolina, and Bobby Austin, who, of course, had also been on that staff at Mississippi State with Jake Gautreaux and Chris Lemonis, is also headed to Conway. You have Jake Agnos taking over. Jake, of course, tremendous Pirate from 2017 to 2019, was in the Yankees organization, came back in the summer of 2025 as the graduate manager, and was kind of the understudy of Austin Knight, and is now running the show as the Pirates pitching coach. Bryant Packard is now the hitting coach. And then Thomas Francisco, who was the director of ops this season, is now the assistant hitting coach and working with the catchers. And then for the director of baseball operations, per Stephen Igo of Hoist the Colors, give him credit here because he certainly broke the news. And Easton Dally, after a year at Virginia Tech as their general manager and director of baseball operations, is returning to Greenville.
Yeah, he's been around since like 2020, right?
Who's that? Who are you talking about?
Easton Dally, I think he was.
Yes, he was a student from like 20 to 23, and then he was the graduate assistant manager, which is what Jake Agnos was this year. And then after last season, he left for Virginia Tech, where he joined Coach Chef's staff and was the general manager and director of ops this year. And now he's returning to be our director of ops.
Well, I like the trend of ex-Pirates returning. Well, Bryant's this will be his fourth season, but just the fact that we have so many, Pirate baseball, ex-Pirates on the staff is awesome. Especially
Agnos and Packard, who are definitely hungry to break into Omaha themselves as well. Because they were our studs for 2 regional teams and a super regional team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both natural fits, obviously. But there's a lot more as far as them being a little bit younger, learning the ropes on everything outside the lines is my point here. Obviously, they know baseball. Bryant Packard, one of the best hitters ever at East Carolina. Jake, I think he was a first or second round pick by the Yankees.
Fourth.
And yeah, they know what they're doing on the field. It's just a lot of the background stuff is probably what people are asking. Are they ready to do that? And they've had years of training, but that's going to be the biggest thing they need to pick up is everything off the field.
Yeah, but if you were to compare Austin Knight's resume against Jake Agnos, they'd be pretty similar. I feel like I'm talking about when Austin was first hired.
And every time I saw Austin Knight, I saw Jake around him. So I'm sure he's picked up a lot. Yep.
Hopefully Jake had a lot of hands-on stuff with the mechanics and learning new pitches, because Austin Knight really loved teaching pitchers how to throw splitters, especially righties like Trey, and I think that was actually what had what was his name, Brett Antolik have those last couple of decent outings with us as a splitter.
He was fantastic in his last couple of outings.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came in and he threw like 3 or 4 splitters in a row, and then he came in with 95, 96. People were like, wow, we didn't know he could do that. he was very impressive, and hopefully he comes back next year. And I know he's draft eligible, so that's going to be tough.
I
And he's
believe
pitching
he
very
is.
well
I believe he
up in
announced he was
Williamsport for
coming
the
back,
Williamsport
right?
crosscutter.
What's that, Sean?
I believe he announced he was coming back, right?
I thought he did too.
He
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, well, you can announce you're coming back, but he
Yes.
is draft eligible, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
somebody
Oh, I see what you're
throws
saying.
something.
Cool. Yeah.
Somebody throws something out there. He may contemplate that. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
After the way he's pitching up in Williamsport for the crosscutters, 7 innings, 7 Ks. Opponents are hitting just $160 against him.
Mm.
Yeah, he's got stuff that's going to go to the next level. There's no doubt about that. It's just unfortunate with the hip injury, and it took him a long time. But you saw what he was capable of later in the year. He really had great stuff.
Supposedly at Texas, where'd he come from? Texas A&M, I think.
Texas A&M.
Supposedly at Texas A&M, he was even hitting 100 at times.
Wow. Well, his hips seem, he's been struggling with, being healthy. I feel like, at the end of the season, we saw what a healthy Brett Antolik could do.
Yeah. Could anchor a bullpen or maybe even be a weekend guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even in the mid-year when he wasn't really full steam, I could tell on a few of his pitches. I was like, this guy's got electric stuff. I would like to see him when he's healthy. And when I went to the Chapel Hill Regional, I got to see him, and it was electric. He really has stuff that pops off, and that's impressive.
Well, you think Game 2 at the Conway series this year, you heard Cliff referencing in the post game. He said what we did today with Brett Antolik was a little unfair, putting him in such a high leverage situation, and we probably wouldn't have done it if we had the chance to do it over. But it will pay dividends moving forward. And that was early to mid March, and you saw what happened. About 3 months later, he's in that high leverage situation, about as high leverage situation as you can have in Game 1 of a regional against Tennessee, when he comes in second and third, 1 out, and gets the strikeout and gets that ground out to get out of the 12th inning or something.
Because there was a guy in scoring position with 1 or no outs, and he.
It was impossible, Sean. I was like, if we can get out of this jam, it would be a miracle, and we did, and time and time again. So that was an incredible game to watch.
Yeah, that was
Brett was awesome.
That was a masterful outing by him. That's hopefully what we can see from him next year.
I hope.
Yeah, if he's healthy, he's definitely, going back to what Sean said, obviously he would come out of the bullpen and be a punch-out pitcher, but he could be a starter. He's a Friday starter with the stuff he has. He really is.
Yeah, you're seeing it from Brett Antolik, and then obviously what we got from Ryan Towers. You think about it; those two guys were brought in to be weekend arms, weekend starters, and we certainly saw why this year. Obviously, not as much with Antolik due to the ongoing hip issue, but
think about that. The starting rotation. If you had Towers and Antolik, and then obviously we hope Colby Weber's coming back early enough, but obviously Sean's going to be out for most of the year, if not all the year. But those top 3 right there, wow, that's tough already.
I agree, and I remember how frustrating it was last season, 2025, when we kept thinking, when are we going to see Towers? Or are they going to be ready this weekend, Towers or Antolik? And it just dragged on the entire season. We always thought maybe next weekend, but it never happened. And, now we finally got to see both of them. And Towers is draft eligible, by the way. So I don't know, where he is on the Major League Baseball's radar, but he is.
I have a question for Sean about Towers. Have you ever had experience to interact with him in the jungle?
We've called him out a couple times, but nothing too much.
Yeah, he's got that personality. I was just curious.
The only thing with Towers is I think it's pretty safe to say that he'll be back next year, mainly because he tops out at 88, 89. And in today's baseball, that's you're not getting taken early if you're throwing in those ranges.
I agree. Yeah, and that's exactly where he tops out at. But he is sneaky. He'll get it by you, but he has to rely on a lot of off speed stuff. So you're right.
His curveball, because he came here, not apparently Austin Knight taught him how to throw a curveball. His curveball was really stellar when they put him in when they let him start some games.
Yeah, Johnny, you have the stats on him for the end of the year. He was tremendous for us. He helped solidify the losses that we incurred during the early part of the year. So
he was dazzling towards the end of the season. And but unfortunately, those stats are in Greenville, and I'm in Virginia, so I don't want to misquote them. But yeah, let's just say they were very impressive.
So Ryan Sproul,
after the what was it? What did he call the game where he gave up? Everybody
a yes hitter. A yes hitter.
Yes hitter. That's right.
Against UTSA, he threw a yes hitter.
Oh yeah, that's right. He didn't even get it out in that game and gave up 4 or 5 runs.
Yeah, that game.
But Ryan Sproul said, glad to see the recruits and portal guys staying after losing both coaches. After watching my interviews with some of them, they all had great things to say about Jake Agnos and Bryant Packer.
You know what? That's a great observation by Ryan, because I had the same fears. I thought that possibly, even if it's just 1 or 2 players, that we might have some attrition due to, following coaches, but that just didn't happen.
And you start wondering how much Jeff Palumbo has to do with that too, even with the pitchers. I mean, his influence on getting players to Greenville.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing with doing these interviews that you've been doing, Bubba, with incoming people. I think every one of them has said Jeff Palumbo is one of the reasons they're coming here. I believe, if not, at least, 80 or 90% of them.
Right. And there have been some speculation, about that.
South Carolina.
About South Carolina, as Kevin Schnall's been assembling his staff. So just looking obviously to retain Coach P, and he certainly means so much to this program and has for the duration of Cliff Godwin's tenure.
No doubt.
Yeah, without question, he's been one of the guys that stuck around, and we all know that he could probably have went somewhere already, but he hasn't. And much appreciated for the job he's done at East Carolina.
Agreed.
So speaking of guys that are pitching in the upper 90s and then also maybe even touching 100, Saxon Roberts, obviously the young man had some command issues, had not seen much mound time at all at Auburn, but coming out of Franklin, Tennessee, one publication had him the top player, not just top pitcher, but top player in the state of Tennessee, and another had him number 9, but 6'5", at least 215, 220 pounds, and he is pitching for the Amsterdam Mohawks. We have an interview that the Amsterdam Mohawks did with Saxon. It is on our YouTube channel as well as our social media, so go check it out. But he was one of those that Ryan Sproul referenced that talked about Jake Agnos and then also visiting Greenville on his way up to Amsterdam to play summer ball, and just saying he was very impressed with what ECU had to offer. And the young man unfortunately lost his dad 1 year ago, as of a few days ago, to ALS. So that will be a common bond, between he and Coach Godwin in this program.
And the Clark LeClaire Classic. Yeah, he actually did say he bulked up to 225 pounds, Bubba, on the interview. I don't know if you caught that when you told him that, but he said, no, I'm 225.
Yes, you were thinking about the interview.
Wrong interview
that I did with Janison.
Yeah.
Janison Steele.
Oh, yeah. Was that Janison?
Yeah,
Okay.
Steele.
Yeah.
But Sean, we know you got maybe another 10 minutes or so. So as we're taking a look, you had, of course, you have Austin Irby and Michael Kalinich that left. They're going to Liberty. Matt Lashley was picked up by the Houston Cougars. Blade Carver at Austin P. Dawson Neal to Division II North Georgia. Have not seen anything yet as far as Carlos Hakame, Luke Craddock, Nathan Wines, and Jackson DiLorenzo. And then, so thoughts on any of those guys? We'll start with you, Sean.
Most of those are kind of unsubstantial except for Irby and Kalinich. We know what Irby's capable of when he's seeing the ball well. But this year he just had that sophomore slump and it's like he was trying too hard sometimes. But he plays good defense and he's got the ability to do good. So it's sad to see him go. And then Michael Kalinich, I mean, he's a pure hitter. And I feel like with him, it was just he wanted to catch. And you've got Walker Barron, who, as long as Walker Barron doesn't get drafted, hopefully he'll be back with us. I think he should be, but kind of worried he might get drafted the way he kind of picked up his hitting this year and kept up his great defense. But losing Kalinich, I mean, that sucks. But I mean, we've got plenty of other dogs that want to eat and want to get some time out there.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm not going to miss Kalinich too much because he was not ever going to be a catcher that we could depend on. He did start 9 games, 2 last season and 7 this season. Interestingly enough, the Pirates were 3-6 in games that he was the catcher. And he's just not a catcher that's, up to the level that we need from a catcher. And Walker Barron is, I mean, next season when he comes back, hopefully one of these freshman catchers can, give him more than 2 or 3 games. We need to get back to like the 47-16 splits instead of the 63s, or in this case, it was 56-7 this year. But
yeah, I'm sure Walker's knees will appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as Austin Irby is concerned, I'm going to miss the first and third base gloves. Like in foul territory, there was no foul ball that was going to stay in the park that wasn't going to get caught by either Colby or Austin. Austin's glove was, I loved watching him play. He had a lot of energy. I'm not sure what happened to his bat. We saw glimpses. Like I went to the William and Mary game, and that home run he hit was, I think, probably the longest home run anybody hit all season.
Oh yeah, that bomb he hit against. I was late in the season. I can't remember who it was against. Was it the last home? Was it? No, it wasn't Rice.
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was, but he hit that one home run that just. You saw it go off the bat, and you're just like, oh, yeah, that is way out of here.
And I was always an Austin Irby fan, and I did feel like he got paid after, after the season that he had, especially in the postseason last season in Conway. And I feel like Cliff brought up many, many times in interviews, well, I'm not against players getting paid, but if you get paid, I felt like he was addressing Irby, not directly. So I don't know if there was some friction there or whatever, but it was just unfortunate that Austin just couldn't get in a groove.
Yeah, but someone's going to have to play first base next year, and if he doesn't want to be here,
I think we got plenty of candidates. I think Braxton Trammell could play it. Davin Whitaker's played first base. But we got a lot of young guys coming in here. You talked about Janison Steele. I mean, I know he's only going to be a freshman, but he can play first base. We'll see. I'm not worried about first base.
So what are your thoughts on shortstop, Sean?
I know we got that transfer coming in from Purdue, and he's supposed to be a pretty good defender with a decent bat, at least good double power and a decent average. I think he batted like in the 280s in the Big Ten.
Yeah, Weston Bull, 285, 2 home runs, 38 RBIs, and then 58, holy cow, 15 doubles
Yeah.
Like you said, very solid freshman year for the Boilermakers, who went 37-20. But
Yeah,
yeah,
they were on
I
the
really
bubble for a while.
Yeah,
Purdue.
and as a freshman, hope he takes the next step. So right now, obviously, shortstop was a big position that we need to fill based on
yeah.
what was going on. But yeah, we'll
We,
see
we
how it
do
goes.
have
But hopefully he takes that sophomore step up and a little bit more production at the plate. And then obviously on defense, he did have a few more errors, but at shortstop, I mean, you're going to have errors. It's just impossible not
yeah.
to.
Well, he had 11 errors, and he was in the Big Ten. He's playing UCLA and some high-powered offenses, Oregon. And so in the last 2 seasons, we've had 5 different Pirates play shortstop. And between them, they had 43 errors. So, 43 in 2 seasons, 11 in 1 season. I mean, he's going to be a sophomore. He'll be improved. So you can expect that number to dwindle a little bit. So I feel like
And a little bit more offensive production.
yeah.
Can you can overlook a couple things with offensive production. So hopefully he keeps that up too. He had, obviously, what was he ranked in the portal as a shortstop? Do you guys remember?
I think one
Yeah,
publication I saw had him. I think it was maybe even as high as 4th or 5th. But
Yeah, I was curious where he was.
well,
Okay.
he was considerably above Matt Lashley, and that's not a jab at Lashley because he's playing for Houston. I hope he does well, but I'm liking the trade. I like what we have coming in.
Yeah. And then who was number 1? The William and Mary shortstop?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Carolina got him.
Yeah.
well, guys,
Interesting.
very briefly, Wool and Jr. Let's pause our portal talk and other conversation just a moment. Sean, really appreciate your time. I know you got to run. We'd love to have you back on maybe later in the summer to talk some Pirates and the pros and so forth, if you're up for it. But definitely in the fall, you're right there locally. I know as your schedule allows, you'll get out to the Fall World Series, and then maybe not necessarily even the Fall World Series, but just those intra-squad scrimmages that a lot of us out-of-towners cannot get to. But again, appreciate your time. Any parting thoughts?
No, thank you. Thank you for everything. Thanks for having me on. This has been great. Enjoyed this talk. I thank Johnny the most for inviting me on or reaching out to me first and bringing me on to this. This has been, really enjoyable. I am looking forward to the next baseball season, of course. We're bringing back a lot. We've got a lot of talent, and we've got kind of the most important piece. Cliff Godwin. This year, in my opinion, I think was one of his better coaching performances he's ever put on. When you look at all the things that he had to deal with, and he was able to not just go on a run at the end and make the tournament, but knock Tennessee down, eliminate another really good smaller school that's traditionally really good at baseball in VCU, and give us a shot against Carolina, the team that made it all the way to the final game before dropping it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely an excellent coaching job this year by Cliff Godwin. Probably right up there. I think probably the consensus with Wool and I was what that 22 team, just unbelievable what that team did. But yeah, heck of a job this year. Again, really enjoyed the visit. Have a great summer, and we'll be talking.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thank you
Sean.
guys very
Appreciate it.
much. I'll see y'all around. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks,
Look
Sean.
forward to it. Thank you.
Pirate Nation, that is Sean Sullivan. Appreciate his time tonight. And guys, as we get back to it here let's talk about those announcements that were put out on social media as far as guys that are running it back. Nick Parham, Ryan Towers, Brett Antolik, Colby Wallace, Grady Linehan, Braxton Trammell, Braden Burris, Braden Bachman, Jack Vogeley, Ethan Rose, Luke Payne, Alex Peltier, Colby Weber, Sean Jenkins, Thomas Paxton, and Chance Hall. And then you have guys that you feel good about. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you've seen something, maybe it has been put out there, but Charlie Hoagland, and then, of course, we referenced Walker Barron, Davin Whitaker, Gabe Beschloss. As far as maybe there has been something in the last few days as far as one of those, but
there has not been, Bubba.
Okay, so but Walker Barron and Davin Whitaker, obviously, it's going to depend on what takes place with the draft.
Yeah, you could also throw Jack Strom and Brett Beasley in there, but I just don't know. I think we're already at 33, maybe. And I'm not sure what our roster number is. I know we have to be at 34, but I don't know how many people qualify for the exemption for graduate student. I'm not sure about that, but we're close to the limit. And so I'm not sure, depending on what plays out the rest of the portal, whether Brett Beasley and Jack Strom are waiting to see if they even fit on this team. Maybe that could be the case. I don't know.
And of course, Beasley and Strom did not play this season. They are playing for the Greenville Yard Gnomes. And other guys that are in summer ball, you have Brett Antolik, who's playing in the MLB Draft League for the Williamsport Crosscutters, like I mentioned earlier. A guy that, of course, finished his eligibility. But Frank Saccone, he is also in the MLB Draft League, if I'm not mistaken. Braxton Trammell with the Newport Gulls. And I found it interesting. I didn't see any statistics for him, but Colby Wallace was still listed on that Newport Gulls roster. But I'm thinking that perhaps he just had not been deleted, or maybe, you never know. Like sometimes Jacob Jenkins Cowart with the Burlington Sock Puppets would go play 5 games and then call it a summer. So maybe it's one of those situations. But and then Braden Bachman with the Charlottesville Tom Sox, or as some may say, Tom Cats.
Tom Sox Cats. That's what I like to call them. And I'm the one that's been to more. I've been to more Tom Sox games than both of you combined, but I still watch it occasionally.
Where do they play again?
Well, they have two. They play at 2 different locations. Mostly, they play it at the local high school at the airport field. Yeah, that's where they mostly play. They'll have a few other games at another location that I've never been to.
Gotcha. So real quick, I thought I saw a ruling that was coming down that they were going to allow 5 years. Did you guys see that today?
I did. Five to play 5, and that clock begins at the 19th birthday. And just one moment.
I was just wondering how that affected everybody on the team.
Yep.
I have to go read into it a little bit longer, but if Bubba knows.
Yeah, so this is from Pete Thamel. He says the NCAA Division I cabinet unanimously approved the organization's age-based eligibility proposal, which gives athletes 5 years of eligibility over 5 seasons, or is often said, 5 to play 5. This marks a big win for the NCAA as they attempt to bring consistency to the landscape. An athlete's 5-year eligibility clock would start either upon initial enrollment at any college or at the start of the academic year immediately following their 19th birthday, whatever happens first.
Some records going to be rewritten then, if everyone can play 5 years if they stay healthy. And with the rev share situation, there may be players that stick around for 5 years, and I don't know. I didn't hear this ruling, so I have mixed feelings about it.
So I don't know if you guys listened to Braden Burris and his interview that he had, but he says if I can stay in Greenville 5 years and play 5 years, I'm going to do it. So obviously we know he's not going anywhere, but it affects him. He knows that.
Yeah. Well, the NCAA, they need consistency. They absolutely need that because they don't have it right now. And, it's just crazy how some athletes get, rulings that they can have an extra year of eligibility and others get denied. And it's just it's not consistent at all. So I do applaud it for that reason.
And of course, I'm sure there'll be exceptions, like for instance, BYU with the Mormon mission and so forth.
Yeah, very few exceptions though. Like if you get injured, you're losing a season, if not more. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So, and there won't be red shirts. That's an interesting part of this.
Yeah, and you're not going to, and there's hardly any players that are going to do 5 years. There's going to be an injury somewhere along the line.
But how does that work with baseball though? Because I think as far as the Pirates are concerned, they count on redshirting guys every single season to keep them on the team to reach their roster limit. If that's, there's not going to be redshirts anymore.
And you bring up a point that I was wondering about. If I know they wanted to keep Braxton Trammell on a red shirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he could have played in that Chapel Hill Regional.
He could have.
Yep. But I know the importance of having him, an extra year. But wow, could you imagine if he could have played?
Could have been a game changer, Wool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's got a lot of power. Everybody knows that he's going to bring it when he's at the plate. So, and then we had lost our arguably the best hitter on the team. Yeah, that would have been a great thing to. Yeah,
I agree. Hey, Bubba, are we going to talk about the other transfers other than Weston Boyle? I mean, we got a couple of right-handed pitchers from junior college.
Yeah, definitely.
We got Nick Lorenz from Florida Southwestern and Sawyer Wickstrom from Everett Community College. And I think Sawyer Wickstrom is probably the one that's had a little bit, bigger fanfare and higher velocity as well. He's upper 90s at times. So, you never know. That's a big jump, but we'll take him.
Yeah, I believe Sawyer Wickstrom kind of profiles as a starter, whereas
Nick is more of a bullpen piece.
Kind of I think back end of bullpen guy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I made out of it. Same thing.
But let's see. Also, other portal pickups. We obviously referenced Weston Boyle from the Purdue Boilermakers. We have not talked about on this show. We of course interviewed him, and that is from Division III Rowan. We caught up with I'm blanking.
Braden Davis.
Braden Davis. So yeah, it's been a long day, but Braden Davis, who of course is down in Palm Beach playing his summer ball, and was hearing from the likes of Miami, Rutgers, and others.
Bubba, can I just, if anyone's out there, if you haven't heard that interview with Braden Davis yet, I would listen to it, and you'll be a Braden Davis fan instantly. He's just. He wants to be a Pirate so bad, and he's for all the right reasons. And he's got a big bat. He even told us he sleeps with it before games. So he's an interesting guy. I think he'll do well here. So yeah, I'm excited for the Braden Davis era to begin.
Yeah, Braden Davis. I'm very impressed with him. Like you said, high energy, and you can tell he's very excited about being a Pirate. And one of the things we laughed about is just how he kind of had a resembled
AMAC.
AMAC.
He's his doppelganger. It was unreal.
Yeah, I saw that too. And he did say he can play anywhere, and they really haven't talked about a position with him. when I listen to the interview, they're just talking about his bat right now. So that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, because obviously, we want someone that can play the field too, and we just don't want a DH, but we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And also the translation between the different levels is another
That's
aspect.
a big jump.
Yeah.
That's D3.
That's a big one.
D3. Now Jack did D2 and did it brilliantly. And I mentioned on that interview that I did read an article on 64 Analytics that they did say that if you make an all-conference team or an all-star team, or you're an all-American at a lower level, your chances of succeeding obviously are far greater when you move up. And if you're a two-sport athlete, they found that's an indicator of future success when you move up. So he checks both of those boxes.
Yep.
So, and he's got the right attitude.
I think that athleticism, like you mentioned, is probably a key indicator here.
Yeah. I think he'll do okay. Or he'll do
And the
well.
other that I forgot we had already mentioned, Saxon Roberts, but Wool did not get your thoughts on Saxon or UJR for that matter. But 6'5", about 215 or 220 pounds. And clearly the young man has gone through a lot, from a personal standpoint with the loss of his father. And you've seen this summer, and he had a 3-inning performance where Jake Agnos was apparently there watching him pitch, and in 3 innings he struck out 8. But just from the command standpoint, for a guy that obviously has good stuff but has been unable to hone it in thus far, I certainly like to pick up, and I think he's worth making an investment in, from the standpoint of the guy has it there, but can he tap into it?
Yeah, you're talking about how high his ceiling would be, and obviously, they saw something, but I don't know enough about the young man yet to be able to comment 100%. I don't know if Johnny's done more research. I'm sure he has, but apparently his ceiling is really high.
Yeah, well, I always defer to you on matters of pitching talent evaluation, and there's not a lot you just can't research a lot. There's not a lot to research other than what Bubba mentioned about his high school. So I'm waiting for you to maybe find some information about him and let me know what you think.
It's like last year, you got Colby coming in. He was like 30-1 in high school. His ERA was like 0. You can find that information everywhere. Some of these guys is tough to find.
Yeah.
But like I said, they saw something, high ceiling, and hopefully they can develop him.
Yeah, without having some connections or really, really doing some digging, some numbers, and maybe, be it statistics or velo and pitches. That's going to be pretty much what you're going to find. But those are the portal pickups thus far. You're bringing in Jack Woda and also Braden, I guess it's pronounced Lipoff. So then, depending on what happens with Walker Barron, whether he's back or not, I've heard we definitely would like to add another catcher that has some experience.
Yeah, I think it's critical. Like I mentioned earlier, Walker Barron's just catching too many games. So I'm going to do the math real quick. 57 and 6. He's got 117 games in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to give him a break.
It's our most vulnerable position from a defensive perspective has been catcher.
Yeah, but I'm sure y'all remember the Travis Watkins days. I think he started 222 games at catcher and played he started 60 games like every season and did it very well. But you wouldn't want to ask that. And Walker's a smaller guy. I don't know if that means that there's more wear and tear on him. I don't know, or less. I'm not sure. But we need to give him some breaks. We need to give him another catcher that can take some starts behind the plate for sure.
yeah, we got to get it back to that point where we have a second catcher that's catching 12 to 15 games. Now, obviously, I mean, y'all reference some situations where you have 35-25 breakdown or something like that, but
Or even
certainly
J Dub and McChrystal, that was good. I mean, that was like J Dub.
right
Yeah, that.
where you have like 45-15 or
Yeah, yeah,
48-12 or something like that. But
right.
yeah, what it's been the last 2 years, especially 2025, was ridiculous.
Yeah, and even looking back, Bubba and Wool, Jake Washer and Seth Cadell, that was a nice split. And then Seth Cadell and I'm blanking Newton, that was a nice split. So we've always had like a nice split, but the last couple of years it's going back to the the days of Travis Watkins.
Yeah, and when I played way back in the day, I always felt like it was just something that happened. You had two catchers. Coach O was very big on that, and it was kind of a 66% thing. We had Tommy Eason, Corey Short, Chris Cobble, Dominic DeRogelio. It's a tough name to say, but anyway, Coach O was big on making sure that he had two catchers that could play defensively. And maybe they weren't both similar offensively, but obviously with Tommy, Hall of Famer, All American. But it just felt like that was a natural thing to do, and now we've kind of gotten out of that. Having two defensive catchers
Yeah.
and overworking these guys. It just seems odd to me, and hopefully we can fix that.
I mean, the Tar Heels, aren't they pretty much 50-50 with Winslow and Heineck? I think maybe Heineck
Towards the end of the year, they weren't, but yeah.
No, but so, I mean, that's.
But it did give relief to him during the long haul. So
Yeah.
that's what we're missing, right? So you
Right.
want to have, Walker a little bit more fresh,
Absolutely, Wool.
Jack Vogeley, wanting to mention Jack Vogeley obviously missed the majority of the season. We heard had an extra bone in his foot, had surgery. Things went well, and obviously it was announced a few weeks back that he would be returning for 2027, which was awesome to hear because we never really had a chance to know. He didn't have a good average at the time his season ended, but he had at least 2 or 3 2-hit games, a couple doubles, and had yet to hit any home runs, but he was showing signs, and I look forward to hopefully Jack taking on a prominent role in 2027.
I agree. At the DBAP, I was sitting next to the Pirate dugout. I could see, what was going on in there, and he's just, I'm telling you, man, he is a great teammate. He keeps the energy level up in there. Just always smiling, great attitude, and I just can't wait till he's healthy again.
He's another one of those high ceiling guys. You just hope he can get it together. I'm not sure anybody heard about his injury problems. Everything clear now? Still working on it?
Bubba would know.
Yeah, he said the surgery went well, and yeah, great news on that front. That additional bone was removed, and things look good moving forward. So fingers crossed that it remains that way. And kind of moving to the pitching front, we talked about Colby Weber, and you have the returning guys like a Thomas Paxton. He's another one that battled injuries. Not the same injury, but kind of like Brett Antolik, but was able to get back late in the season, like Brett, and pitch well.
Yeah. If we're going to be talking about pitching, I didn't mention this when you talked about people that have not announced they're coming back, but can come back. I thought that Gabe Beschloss had a pretty good season in 25. He, a little bit wild, but you could see some potential there. We need left-handed pitchers. I mean, we got Ryan, but other than that, I mean, we need left-handed pitchers. So I'm hoping that Gabe is on the mend and will be available for 27 and comes back. Well, what do you think about our left-handed pitching situation?
Yeah, well, in Greenville, you always want left-handed pitching, but we have Luke Payne and and Ryan, but yeah, we need more because we were hoping that Nick Moran could have pitched more this year. Obviously, he was injured, but yeah, it'd be great to get Gabe back and see if he can elevate his game to the next level, which typically happens when you're in Greenville for a while.
Yep, Gabe Beschloss in 2025 certainly showed glimpses. It was more just being able to throw strikes consistently.
Yeah.
A guy that had a stellar freshman season, and we talked early on with his unique delivery and arm slot, and that is Ethan Rose. Great to have Ethan back. And we said I set that over under like 24.5 or 25.5, and he ended up eclipsing that.
Yeah, I think you did say 24.5, if I remember correctly. But yeah, obviously he was going to come in a lot of games. He was not going to be out there a long time. He could deliver the ground outs, double plays, that type of pitcher with that unique delivery, as you mentioned. But yeah, great to have him back and see if he can elevate his game as well. Get more of a middle inning eater out of him, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. Hey, my apologies to the Hoagland family, because talking about left-handed pitchers that haven't announced they're coming back. Well, Charlie Hoagland is, clearly, a big piece. He's a big piece. So
I was wondering what the status was on him.
Yeah, that's his status. Although Stephen Igo did say on 94.3 that the feeling within the team is he was one of the first to say he was coming back, but hasn't, officially, he wasn't part of the, run it back campaign. And, no one's really sure what's going on there, but Igo said he's pretty, confident that Charlie's coming back. So that's good news.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome if he comes back. Show glimpses of what he can do. And we do need that left-handed pitching. So glad you brought that up. So what you guys thought on Brett Antolik? You think he's coming back? You draft eligible? What do you think?
Well, my advice to Brett, I just hope that he doesn't just knock him, dead in this for what are they, the cross cutters, Bubba?
Yeah. Williamsport used to have a minor league team, as did Frederick, which is where Jay Cunner pitched last summer in the MLB Draft League. And the Williamsport Crosscutters Stadium, I'm sure that's where, MLB's played a Little League Classic in the last few years.
Yeah.
It is the Williamsport Crosscutters Stadium.
Wasn't it called Doubleday Field one time? Or they changed the name?
I believe it was Doubleday. Let's see.
Seemed like it called it that at one time. I don't, I'm not, more about field names than anybody I know, Bubba. So you would know.
Not even close.
I know there's no other person that can compete.
That's funny.
Bubba, I used to think, how does he look stuff up so fast? But then I began to realize he's not looking anything up. It's all in his head.
Doubleday Field, I believe. I may be wrong, but I think that's the field at Cooperstown.
Is that Cooperstown? Okay. Yeah. I'm sure you're right.
But sticking with the pitching theme for a few more minutes, Luke Payne, obviously we saw, plenty of occasions where he pitched very well, and then we saw at times and it kind of where the lack of command got the best of him. in some cases kind of a blend of the two, where he would find a way to work his way out of multiple jams within a start. For instance, against the Tar Heels, pitch wasn't particularly sharp, but battled and really did a solid job until I guess it was Heineck hit the home run that tied the game.
Yeah, like you said, Bubba, he does work himself out of jams better than almost anybody. But he's obviously, I think he's more comfortable as a starter because he was in a relief role earlier in the season. And I don't know, John, you would know way more than I would about pitcher mentality, and I know you've talked about it before. But in regards to this young man, do you feel like he's more comfortable as a starter, perhaps? What happened to Wool? Bubba, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So
okay, well, what do you think about that? I guess John had to.
He probably realized he was having some technical difficulties and signed out, and will hopefully be rejoining us here.
Well, anyhow, with Luke Payne, I just there's no reason to think he's not going to improve over the summer and show us an improved version of himself next season. But he is draft eligible as well. I don't know. I doubt it. The draft has only been 20 rounds for the last few years, so I just don't see that happening. But it is something that could happen.
Yeah, Wool is back with us.
Yeah, I got dropped off for a minute. Sorry.
No problem. So Wool, JR was asking you about Luke Payne and your thoughts on Luke and his potential moving forward, going into the fall. And do you envision him vying for one of the weekend roles?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a little bit more consistency is his problem right now. But yeah, I mean, he shows he can do it. I don't know if he 5-6 inning type pitcher yet. That's what we're going to need to get out of a weekend starter. 6 innings probably is what we want. So, but I see it. I can see it on certain games, but the consistency needs to be a little bit better.
Yeah, certainly. And any other thoughts from the pitching side? Colby Weber, for the most part, pitched very, very well early, and even when he would have some issues, did a good job of minimizing the damage for the most part. And of course, I guess it was the final non-conference series was it that Penn weekend that he went down. But
hard to remember. I thought it was.
I think
was it UAB.
Yeah, maybe you're right, but one of either. I think he was Penn and then GVK was UAB or vice versa.
Yeah, it was vice versa. Yeah, either one. Well, as far as the weekend rotation goes, I mean, right now on paper, you're looking at Weber and Tolik, and then obviously Ryan Towers is probably going to pitch in there somewhere. So looks pretty good on paper at this point. And then we have other arms coming in as well. So we'll see. It's a long way to the season, but thinking about those 3 guys and what they're capable of doing, giving you innings, and it feels good right now, but it's a long time till the season starts.
Any thoughts on other guys positionally? I mean, for instance, Alex Peltier missed this season. He's returning, and will provide.
I think it has a lot to do how we feel first base. What's your thoughts, Johnny, on first base here?
I think Braxton Trammell right now. We don't know what we're getting out of the portal. It could be the kid that is coming from D3 at Rowan.
Yeah.
He's definitely comfortable. I don't know. I'm not worried. I'm just not worried about first base because I know that we have people to plug in if we have to. And
I was just thinking around the outfield rotation. With
you have
coming
to.
Back. Yeah,
you have to. But hey, real quick, I was on mute I didn't know that my mic was muted, and we were talking about pitching. I just wanted to throw this out there just to get your thoughts on this. Colby Wallace, did any of you expect him, even with all the challenges we've had with pitchers being healthy this season, to only pitch 2.2 innings? He had a 0.00 ERA. He pitched well, but I guess he's just so valuable at third base that we just don't want to, use him on the mound unless absolutely necessary. But do you think that his pitching days are finished, or do you think we might see him use more in the future?
I think it'll be very similar to this year. It's hard to get a guy to come in from third base to pitch in a game. Now, I know the ones he did pitch, he was able to be in the dugout and get out there and get some warm-up tosses in before he came in. But if you think about it, trying to use him and him getting loose and being able to pitch is a very tough thing to do. So I think it'll be very similar to this year.
Yeah, hopefully we won't need him. And then I guess if, there's in a pinch, we know he's there. But yeah, I'm happy with him just staying at third base myself.
Yeah, I think I would have probably lost that over under.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's say if it was set right around where he ended up, I think I would have probably thought, let's see, because in 2025, Seawall threw 12 2/3. I'd have probably thought it was somewhere in the middle, 6, 7, 8 innings would have been my guess. But
real quick, Braden Bachman, what's going on there? Sorry. I'm trying to look through the roster.
Braden Bachman, he's playing for the Charlottesville
Tomcat. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I had to catch myself. I always want to say Tomcats now that the JR said that.
Yeah, so he's coming back, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he was part of
back.
the run it back campaign.
Okay.
Here's
another.
another
It'd be interesting to see where he fits in. DH or he's going to play the field, or how we get him in there, because his bat. It's impressive when he hits. So.
But you think about it right now, positionally, especially if Walker Barron's back, you got Walker Barron, and then in the middle, Weston Boyle at short, Braden Burris at second, and then Grady Linehan in center. That's pretty strong.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where you need to be solid. That looks really good right now.
And then
you can hide the other players a little bit. You can't hide those guys in the middle.
And then, and just thinking out loud, you got, if Davin comes back, you already talked about Braxton Trammell, Seawall, and then.
That's what I was thinking about the outfield and how, thinking about Davin Whitaker at first, and then Trammell. What would he do? Yeah, that position is the one that's kind of like the catalyst of how that outfield is going to look like. So how they address first base. Plus, they got guys coming in.
And you never know how it's going to turn out, because even if Davin is back, but especially if Davin were not to be back, you think about when you're talking about Braden Davis.
Yeah.
That's something that we discussed with him, his athleticism and the way Jack Herring improved his body and became not only a serviceable right fielder, but
pretty good one.
Right
pretty good one. Yeah.
Except for that throw to the plate.
Going back to Braden Davis in the interview, he did say he can play any position on the field. And a lot of these guys have played many positions in high school and before that. So I get that part, but he does seem like an exceptional athlete and, playing the multiple sports. So I'll be curious to see how that goes and where he can play, because who knows? He may be asked to end up playing first.
Yeah, and I do believe he was sincere when he said, "I'll play anywhere they need me." I feel like he is that kind of dude that will just go, even if he doesn't, if he had rather play one position over another, he's not going to let anyone else know that. He's going to do whatever they ask him to do, and he'll do it as best as he can. So yeah, very versatile. I'm interested as well, Will, to see where he ends up.
Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry, I got a phone call, but Stacy and the kids are traveling to the beach. But
I'm taking one right now, so I'll be right back.
So we
JR left in a hurry. It sounded like the president was calling or something.
yeah.
But sorry, where do
As
we leave
as
off,
far as the
John?
position players going, anybody else that we've missed
So, yeah,
here?
obviously, we mentioned Davin Whitaker, and we talked about Braden Davis and his potential to play the corner outfield positions. Jack Vogeley's another, because
Yeah.
obviously Jack was playing corner outfield. It seems like primarily left because Jack was in right. I think like when that Sunday game against the Tar Heels, where I'm pretty sure that that was one of those 2 hit games that I referenced for Jack Vogeley, and he had a double that day. I think he started in left field.
Yeah, it seemed like, he was going to come out of whatever he wasn't hitting home runs like we thought he would there early, but it felt like it was just a matter of time, and then he got hurt. So that'll be another interesting thing to see how he, after his surgery, and does in the fall. So, but yeah, he's got a lot of upside, obviously.
I mentioned that Nick Parham's coming back. Now, obviously, I know some will kind of turn up their nose at that or whatever you want to say, but Nick, he certainly proved that he can provide quality depth. And you look in the regional, yes, he had some Ks, but 7 for 13, and people just say that because he had those 2 errors early in Game 6 of that regional against the Tar Heels.
Yeah, and Johnny has a good pulse on the roster and how many. So that's the one thing that I'm wondering about, especially with the new ruling, new players coming in. How a coach would deal with that. If somebody says I'm coming back, and I'm not saying this about Nick in general, I'm just talking about any player in general. How you ask somebody to leave, So
Yeah, I would think with
it's
Nick.
a go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, I think with Nick, he's kind of a luxury to have around. Speaking of
Yeah,
the Charlottesville Tom Sox, I went to several of their games when him and Colby were on the same team, and Nick played every single position except for pitcher and catcher. He played the other 7 positions, and he made a ridiculous catch in right field to advance them to the playoffs. So Nick can play anywhere, and he does. I don't know. I said he's a
yeah.
luxury to have.
Like Bubba said, he's going to be a serviceable shortstop
Yeah.
backup, right?
Now, if he's our starter, then that's trouble. But we got our guy now, so we don't have to worry about that. And I wouldn't mind having him on the team personally. And I think fans are. Bubba mentioned one specifically on X that just was, just inappropriately bashing Nick. Nick's a pirate. Nick's trying to win games for us. You don't bash
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
So, anyhow,
No, he's a luxury. I mean, he can play shortstop, like you said. He can play other positions
he
as
could play
well. So
second. He could play
yeah,
third.
Yeah,
He could play first.
People underestimate his value at not only shortstop but just being a true utility guy, like you mentioned, because you never know when something could happen. And
Right.
Nick Parham's clearly a team guy. Coach Godwin, in numerous interviews, talks about how much his teammates love him.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, guys exiting the program, whether it's exhausting their eligibility, or we already talked about the transfer portal guys, but Jack Herring, what a 2-year Pirate career he had. Jeff Sabater had a very solid single season with the Pirates after coming in from Millersville. Alex Boucher, again, team guy that did everything he was asked to do, and Coach would get emotional when talking about what Alex Boucher meant to him. Parker Bird, wish Parker nothing but the best moving forward with his quest to be in the Paralympics as he heads out to get his master's degree at San Diego State. Ethan Norby, we'll see where Ethan gets drafted as he gets a professional opportunity. And Nick Moran, Joseph Webb. I hope Joseph Webb gets a shot. Was having some conversations and certainly kind of put it out there to some folks that with Joseph Webb's stuff, he's certainly deserving of a professional opportunity. And then it'll be interesting to see what happens with Gavin Van Kempen after the way he was certainly highly regarded for what he did at West Virginia and just lacked some consistency. And he was delivering through the first 5 or 6 starts that he had this year. And then wanted to mention Gavin Marley, and I had already mentioned Frank Saccone, but Gavin Marley from Lenore Ryan was an East Carolina kid from the standpoint. I think his mom had been a Pirate, but Gavin Marley, on the whole, pitched very well this year, and you could tell was very appreciative of the one season he had in the purple and gold.
Yeah, he could fill up the zone when he was on, so appreciate what he did. Yep.
And he kind of laughed. I'm trying to remember if it was the press conference at the regional when he was talking about maybe he got a question about the pitches that he was throwing, and he said he kind of looked at Coach Godwin and was laughing, but talking about throwing so many fastballs and how that typically doesn't work out well, but with his ability to throw a quality 2-seamer and a 4-seamer and just mix it up and locate, he made it work.
He definitely did, and he did have both of those pitches, but also reminds me of going back when he got chewed out on the mound there, and they probably developed a relationship after that, so that's pretty cool.
Yep, no doubt.
Sometimes you wonder, if the coach even knows you exist at times, so it was good to see that kind of interaction between the two.
Well, guys, this has been a very lengthy show, but before we get out of here, let's go to our Pro Pirate Report. And Wool, I know you've been traveling, and we've all been busy and following these Pro Pirates as much as we can. Let's start off with Burley, and I'll pull up his current stats in a moment. But Burley here recently, he had what was at least a 17-game hit streak.
That was the last I heard. It was 17 games, so I think it ended there. But, hitting home runs, hitting doubles. He almost had an inside the park home run. They held him up at third, but I thought they were going to send him to see if he could make it. But, just, same thing we always know. This guy can just hit. They got to give him in the lineup all the time, and St. Louis loves him. The fans love him, especially when he hits that home run up there when they're doing tarps off. So pretty cool to see.
And Burley is currently hitting .288 with 13 bombs.
Yeah.
So his power numbers last year, didn't he finish about 19?
Yeah, and you can expect him. Yeah, that he's probably gonna get more than that this year, obviously. But yeah, seems like would be a 20 to 25 home run guy with the way he hits. More of a doubles hitter, but he is getting the ball out there a little bit more this year. That's for sure.
And then what a season Gavin Williams is having. did not get the win here recently, but pitched well in his most recent start. But already 9 wins on the season. He's currently 9-4 with a 3.82 ERA, 96 and 2/3 innings, 111 strikeouts.
Yeah, if you get 10 or 11 wins before the All-Star break, you know you're having a great season. It looks like he's going to probably have that. Obviously it didn't work out for him the last game, but he definitely pitched well enough to win that game.
Trey Savage, 3-3 with a 3.76 ERA. Here a few starts ago, hit some bumps in the road, but his last start, I don't think he got the win, but he pitched very well. And
Most importantly is he didn't walk. He had like 12 or 13 walks in the 2 previous starts, and I think he only walked one, maybe not even one in his last start. So that was a big issue going on. When you start walking people, you start wondering if they trust their own stuff or they're hurt, etc. So I know people were concerned, but he came back the last outing and was able to show what we think he has in the tank, and that is a lot of high missed quality pitches and low walks. So he did deliver his last outing.
And last year, Carson Wisenhunt got 5 starts in the show, pitched very respectably, and here recently he got the call up and pitched 5 innings and only allowed a couple runs.
Yeah, and the GM was talking about him and saying, he might not be called up permanently for a while, but he did get called up because of I think it was a rained out game or whatever. They needed a spot start, and then they sent him right back down. But he was leading the minor leagues in strikeouts. He's got great stuff. Left-hander. It's not long for him to be in the. He's going to be in the major leagues quicker than people think. He's just got too good of stuff, and he's a left-hander. So that's a big positive. Hopefully, he doesn't get traded, but I know in the past he was in talks, in trade talks before, but we'll see how that goes. But I think he's a good fit out there, and hopefully he gets up there and shows us what he can do. And then we'll have that 4th pitcher that we were talking about from the Vandy Regional permanently in the major leagues.
It's been an up and down season for Jeff Hoffman with the Blue Jays, but he's definitely pitched well at times the way we know he can. He's appeared in 36 games, 33 1/3 innings, 54 strikeouts, has earned 5 saves, has a 5-4 record with a 5.13 ERA.
Yeah, he's moved to middle relief at this point, trying to get back. He has an elite K rate. We all know that, but struggled in the closer role. They tried to use him as a setup man, had a couple issues. He did get the win in the last game, but right now their closer is dominant. He's been pitching dominant, so it doesn't look like he's going to get back in that role. But he is in middle relief to try and figure things out. So up and down year, as you said.
Now shifting down to the minors, you have Ryan McChrystal. He is with the Chattanooga Lookouts. That's the AA affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds. Rhino is hitting .271 with 3 home runs and 34 RBI. So solid numbers there for Ryan in AA.
Yeah, one thing about Ryan that impresses me is that he always develops as the season goes along. You can tell that he's learning, and he gets better as it goes. And a great player, a great catcher, and we know he has an arm, outstanding arm. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, great to see him in AA. That means he's on the precipice. Good stuff out of him.
And as I click through the last probably 15 box scores, I'd say he had probably started the majority, if not all of those games. And I think 13 perhaps were at DH, and he was behind the plate 2 of those, which is very similar to the role he had at East Carolina because he could always hit.
Yeah, and he doesn't even have to short arm from the catcher position. His arm is that strong, but yeah, he's fun to watch. And like I said, I'm impressed with the way he just gets better over the course of the year.
Another guy that has definitely had his moments this season. Doesn't have the best of averages right now, but Dixon Williams with the high A affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, the Rome Emperors. Dixon has 7 bombs, has driven in 35, has swiped 12 bases, and yeah, hopefully Dixon will continue to rise through the ranks. That goes without saying, but especially for the three of us, with us being Braves fans, in addition to being huge Pirate fans, that would be great to see Dixon
Yeah,
play one day
yeah,
at Truist.
of course, yeah, and he's looking at AA coming up quickly. Yeah, the batting average is not what he wants, but he's another one that kind of, people all through his high school and coming up through college, he's always been someone that said, well, he might not do this, he might not do that, but he always proves people wrong. So I think he's going to do the same thing. So we'll see how quickly he gets to AA, but I see that happening pretty soon.
And a guy that we had on preseason that I realized that we had failed to mention on our last couple Pro Pirate reports, and that is Jake Hunter. He's in the Minnesota Twins organization in Single A Fort Myers, and he is on the 60-day injured list. So their prayers for Jake, and that he can get back soon, because he certainly pitched very well last year to earn that opportunity with Minnesota.
Yeah, what he did was impressive, and I heard his velocity had taken an uptick. I hope that doesn't, didn't cause any injury or whatever, doing something different. But yeah, prayers for him, because great guy. Loved talking to him when we interviewed him, and one of the more favorite Pirates I had when he played. So it's good to. And I just want to touch base back to the major league side. Zach Agnos and Sean Armstrong. Zach's pitching, still in the major leagues, a little bit middle relief, whatever they need him to do. Sean's not having a year like he did last year, but he's still one of those guys that you can use in any position as a pitcher, utility pitcher, as I call him.
Now is Sean back, because he had been injured, I believe?
Yeah, he's back.
Great. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing Zach Agnos and
Not,
Sean
and then
Armstrong up, because I did not mean to skip over those.
Yeah, no, I get it. But Josh Gross, AA, he's on it. They've really never said what his injury is. I don't know if you guys have heard, but he is injured, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I knew you were telling me about that within the last several days. A guy that has pitched very well. Sorry,
Yes.
did you have something to add about Josh Groves very quickly?
Yeah, elite K rate for a pitcher like him. So, has a lot of upside, and hopefully the injury is not anything bad. So we'll see how that goes.
But a guy that has pitched very well this year, and that's Wyatt Lunsford Shinkman, aka the law firm. He's 3-1, 3.21 ERA, 20 appearances, 28 innings with 27 Ks for the Everett Aqua Sox. Pretty cool hats. Have always thought that about the Aqua Sox out there in Washington, and that's the high affiliate of the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, he's another one. He's got great stuff. We saw it at East Carolina before he got hurt. He was, top. He was either top 1 or in the top 5 of ERA when he was first part of the season there, when he was pitching. It was just lights out stuff, and they see it. So I'm sure he's going to move up the ranks if he stays healthy.
Another Pirate that's unfortunately missing the entire season with an injury that was in AA, Carter Spivey with the Akron Rubber Ducks. And then Tyler Brott. And Tyler Brott had been injured, but it appears as though he is back and is now pitching with the Cardinals rookie ball team as he rehabs, and he's 1-0 in 2 appearances, 1 2/3 innings, and a couple Ks. So great to see Tyler back out there on the mound. And let's see,
Carter Cunningham.
Yeah.
Carter,
JC.
Jacob Jenkins Cowart. Those are others that we hadn't mentioned. Carter is up in Double-A in the Toronto Blue Jays organization with the New Hampshire Fisher Cats.
Yeah, he got promoted from Vancouver, and Carter is, he's also struggling with his batting average. But I'll tell you, when he gets on base, he has 58 base hits combined between Vancouver and New Hampshire. 50% of them are extra base hits, including 12 bombs. So, Carter's still got that stroke, and he struck out 90 times in 229 at bats. He's got to get better with that. But hopefully Carter can get things going.
But as you mentioned, you talk about that average in this day and age, 253. And I know you know this, but that 253 average really isn't that low. And if he continues to produce the power numbers, 12 home runs and 47 RBI.
It's a different way they play the game now. And I go back to the Kyle Schwarber thing. He hit 196 one year, and he had more runs, more RBIs, and more walks than the leading hitter in the National League. And when I say leading hitter, I mean batting average wise. So it's really strange to see that type of stuff going on. But yeah, 250, 270, if you're producing, that's nothing in today's game.
Yeah. But he does have to improve on the strikeouts a little bit.
Yeah, the strikeout part does. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And we didn't mention Connor Norby. He kind of struggling this year. We've seen it. They've tried to move him around, trying to find a position for him, but he hasn't quite got it going with the bat. So we know he can hit. He's a hitting machine. So hopefully that gets better.
Right. Anybody that you can think of that we left out in the minors? I mentioned Jacob Jenkins Coward is still with the Beloit Sky Carp, which is part of the Marlins organization. Jack Reinheimer. Jack Reinheimer is still playing very good baseball for Gastonia, which is part of the independent, or one of the independent leagues of professional baseball. I believe it's the Atlantic League. They're in the league with.
But they're sponsored by Major League, right? By MLB.
Yes, with High Point Rockers, and then also Hagerstown Flying Boxcars with Mark Minikazi, because they're going to be down playing in High Point and also Gastonia in the month of July. So I'm going to try to get to one or both of those locations and catch up with Kaz.
Yeah, if Joe Webb makes it to Hagerstown, well, I'm going to go to a Hagerstown game anyhow. I used to go to the Hagerstown Suns games occasionally just because it's a great venue. But I'd love to catch a Flying Boxcars game as well.
Well, guys, any parting shots? It's been a marathon of a show, but I think overall some solid content. But
I was going to say thank you, Johnny, for setting up Sean on the call. It was very pleasant to speak with him.
Yeah, I don't ever endorse anybody unless I'm pretty sure that they're going to deliver. And I knew Sean was top shelf stuff. So it's funny, Wool, because I've made the comment before that I'm so blessed that I get to be in a group text with the only two people that I think follow college baseball more than I do, and you two. But I think Sean is in that class too. I mean, Sean is very knowledgeable, follows the game, knows what he's watching. And I'm very happy that he was able to come on tonight.
No, that was very evident. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, that was a fun conversation. You can tell Sean bleeds purple and gold, and he just loves talking ECU baseball. So that's why, hopefully, everyone that tuned in enjoyed that because we were all over the map. But we were going from talking 2022 to 2016 to
2009,
and it worked.
Yeah. But
Well, there's a lot of different eras going on there. I mean, I can talk 80s and 90s, and obviously he's a little bit younger, and then you guys, Johnny's been following the program for a while now, so it's just a lot of different eras in there, a lot of different knowledge. So that's why it's all over the map.
Yeah.
But as we're wrapping up the show, I want to express our appreciation to Mark Minikazi, pgxgloves.com, the former Pirate third baseman. Definitely appreciate him supporting the program, and we'll aim to have him on whenever he can fit it into his busy schedule. Occasionally check in with him to see how things are going, and on the flying box cars, that is, they're winning a ton of baseball games. When I talked to him a couple weeks ago, said that they were going to break the organization record for wins, and they were only about 10 away from that number. And at that point, they still had about 80 games to play. So they should blow that out of the water. But go to pgxgloves.com. Here you see some of the excellent selection. The Miami Vice gloves, the Goat gloves, the Mad Clown or Angry Clown gloves, also the Eye of the Tiger. Use promo code JungleTales in all caps. Again, promo code JungleTales in all caps to save yourself 25% off at checkout. And a lot of these same gloves come in football receivers gloves and defensive back gloves as well. So yes, football season is pretty much here with all the 7-on-7s and workouts going on. So get your son, grandson, what have you, some receivers gloves. But over the last couple weeks, JR and I, we've been catching up with a variety of the 2026 class, several pitchers, also catcher Jack Woda, Jason Krutzik, a right-handed arm from Alexandria, Virginia, Janison Steele from nearby CBA Cock and Goldsboro, Carter Purdue from Chantilly, Virginia, and then also Jason Sproul from down in Wilmington. So go check out those interviews. And then if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, because we receive the data in our email, and also check out the analytics. So many people watch on a consistent basis, but haven't clicked that subscribe button. So if that's you, be sure to do so. Ring the notification bell, so anytime we go live, kind of at the last minute, or upload new content, that you're alerted on your device at Jungle Tales Pod on X, Instagram, and YouTube. And then on Facebook and Spotify, we can be found by simply searching Jungle Tales, the Pirate Baseball Podcast. But for former East Carolina pitcher John White and Johnny Stats Robertson, I'm Bubba Rosenbaum, and you've been watching and listening to episode 114 of Jungle Tales. We'll talk to you soon. And as always, go Pirates.